Hello my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday the 23rd of June 2024. Today's video is the rape of Rihanna. Who is Rihanna? Rihanna is a Jewish young lady from a tribe called Banu Nadir. Many Western people, they think, because it's the most famous story, that the Prophet of Allah only violated one person or something like that. We spoke last week about one, and before that about one more. I don't want the video to be erased, so I'm going to... Anyway, there was Safiya bint Huyay. Many people are aware of Safiya bint Huyay, and there are many people, not so many, aware of Guayriya, but today we are going to speak about Rihanna. Rihanna is a very beautiful name. It translates into basil, the flower of the basil. It's very delicate, very small, very pretty, and very fragrant. And that was the name of this beautiful young lady. You know, like here in the West, there are many people call their daughter Jasmine, because it's a beautiful flower, and the same with Rihanna. It's a beautiful flower. And she was a beautiful young lady. I think she was about 20 years old. Anyway, the Prophet of Allah, he invaded her tribe before invading the tribe where he took Safiya bint Huyay. Right before. What happened here is very interesting. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to put it in the description box also. You can read it for yourself. It's in Arabic, and it has Arabic and English, but you have to read through it. I couldn't find the section by itself. I'm sorry. So if you want to study, you can read the whole thing and figure out for yourself. So I'm going to read the story and to see what happened. Okay. The siege of Banu Qurayza at the year 5 after the migration from Mecca to Medina. 5 years later, the Prophet of this nonsense went to invade the tribe of Banu Qurayza, and over there he got Safiya bint Huyay. However, he was invading another tribe called Banu Nadir earlier, and this also Jewish tribe, and the father of Safiya was actually staying with this tribe, visiting or doing business or what have you, and he got killed there. Okay. So it says, when noon came, Gabriel came to the Prophet of Allah, may the blessing of Allah be upon him, and this, as a man, his name is Zuhari, told us the story. And Zuhari has this guy Zuhari. He was wearing a turban made of silk, as if this is very important, if it was silk or cotton or nothing at all, just bare head. And he was on a mule with a saddle made of velvet and silk, as if this detail will add anything. And I'm sorry, that was Gabriel. He was wearing all these things, and he came on a mule, and he is asking the Prophet of Allah, have you put your weapons down yet, your sword and your shield? And you, the Prophet was cleaning his sword from the blood and washing and cleaning his stuff so that it doesn't rust. Gabriel is asking him, you put it down? Are you putting your weapons down? And the Prophet said, yes, Gabriel. So Gabriel responded, all angels did not put their weapons down. They are fighting with you. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so lax? Why don't you go and kill more? By the way, this is after he did his siege and he killed many people, and one of them the father of Safiya bint Huyay, and he's asking him, why are you putting your weapons down? Go and kill more. And this is like, you are the prophet of mercy. Go and kill. So here the angel Gabriel is telling the Prophet of Allah, the angels are doing, wondering, why are you going home? You are supposed to fight. And because of the angels are kind of like urging me to come, I came to you to command you by Allah to go to Banu Qurayza, the other Jewish tribe, and I'm going ahead of you to shake their ground like an earthquake, to put fear in them. So the Prophet of Allah is not his, the guy is peaceful, but you see, Allah is giving him the order, so he's obedient servant. Okay, so the Prophet of Allah called the people to go and kill. Allah told them to kill, so they're going to kill. Do you want them to break the law of Allah? No. So the Prophet of Allah commanded a person to call them for killing. So people called for killing, so everybody, they were waiting for it. So they prayed and they went to Banu Qurayza and they went to kill. So this is in the hadith. There are many things sickening in hadith. So what's happening here is something that any half decent human being will not do. To kill one tribe, destroy it, and take the women. And one of these women from Banu Nadir was Rihanna. Her husband she was newly married. Her husband got killed. The father of Safiya got killed there. Many people were killed. And the thing is, as I was reading and I was trying to listen to videos, it is very clear the story of Juwayriya and Safiya, what happened to them. Because Safiya bint Huyay and Juwayriya, these two people whom we spoke of, both of them accepted to marry the Prophet of Allah. And it says that the Prophet of Allah suggested to them to marry him. I really have a reservation on that. I really honestly think, even though it was so painful, it was these women whom have suggested to the Prophet to marry them. And there is a very deep reason for that, in my opinion. So in my opinion, there is a very deep reason for that, for them to ask this man, I shouldn't call man, anyway, for this thing to marry them. This today, in wars, until even Second World War, If you are caught as captive, you are fair game, especially if you are a woman. Rape is on the table, and not rape by one person, rape by the whole group. A woman could die because many people are raping her. It happened in the Second World War, the Korean War, which is after Second World War. Many Japanese men raped Chinese women and Korean women till death. They didn't care. Okay, so if this was 75 years, 80 years ago, 1400 years ago, the world was like a pile of garbage. You can do anything, get away with it. There was no human rights, there was nothing. Everything is on the table, is open, especially in this dump area called Arabia. Okay, so here you have a bunch of gangsters coming to a group of people whom are merchant. They really don't, I mean, tell me honestly, one big businessman, okay, who likes to carry guns and go and shoot people. They may know how to use it as a sport, but they are not into that. Their heads more of how to work and how to produce. And that was the mind of the people of Banu Qurayza, Banu Nadir, Banu Qaynuqa, all these Jewish tribes living in Arabia at this time. They were merchant, and they were thinking, okay, we can bring this kind of merchandise to China, we can bring silk from China to Europe, and they are sitting arranging business. And they were, by the standard of today, these people were billionaires. So this today can be compared to somebody like Elon Musk. If the government decides to invade his home, and let's say back then there was no banks, he kept his wealth in gold and silver in his castle, in his residence, and a whole army invade his castle or his residence, easily they can take all that gold and silver, that's his wealth, and it becomes theirs. So basically that's what was happening back then. But you don't just take the wealth, you take these beautiful girls, they become yours. You conquered them, so you do whatever you want with them. Okay, if they did that until World War II, why not 1400 years ago? So whether it was Rihanna, Safiya bint Huyay, Juwayriyah, and many like them, whoever was conquered, the women were fair game. So with Safiya bint Huyay and Juwayriyah, I believe they suggested to the founder of Islam to marry them, and the reason is to save themselves. They will be raped by only one single person. Whereas if they haven't done that, if they didn't do that, they will be open as a fair game for the whole army. One will take them for a week or a month or whatever until he's fed up of them, and then he will sell them to another person, to another person, to another person. So it's really life of slavery. After you were a daughter of a billionaire, you had servants to serve you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You had servants to make your bed, and so on and so forth. So imagine the life that you live after that. So of course it's a better deal for these Jewish women to be raped by only, of course it's terrible, I'm not saying it's good, but it's a wiser decision, I would say that, than being raped by a bunch of gang day and night until you die. Okay, so that was their situation. However, as I read and studied, trying to figure out what happened with Rihanna. Because those who accepted or married with the founder of Islam automatically gained the title from the believers, that they are the mothers of believers. And as I checked the list of the wives of the Prophet of Allah, Juwayriyah and Safiya bint Huyay are in that list. That means they married him, they were wives, and therefore they moved to the position of mother of believers. However, with Rihanna, you find mystery shrouding her story, and they don't say it clearly. It is up to you to kind of like figure it out. They say she lived with him as what his right hand possessed means, a slave. He possessed her as a slave. And some say he married her, but he divorced her because of her request. And some say, oh, she loved him so much and she felt the responsibility. Even a person with only half brain in his head will not believe this nonsense. She loved him so much, and therefore she was so concerned that she may not be able to fulfill her obligation as a wife towards him. So she suggested, oh Prophet of Allah, forgive me, but I cannot take this responsibility. If I cannot fulfill my obligation towards you, I will feel so guilty, because you are the Prophet of Allah, of the Most High. Oh, so please forgive me. I cannot, but I'll be your slave. What your right hand possesses, you can come anytime and jump me. It's okay. And some people say she is the only one who didn't want to accept Islam. She stayed as a Jew. That tells you something. And here you are talking about 7th century Jewish people. I'm very sure their tradition, especially that they were out of the area of Palestine, they were merchant going different areas. They kind of cluster together, and I'm sure they kept their tradition of prayer and fasting and whatever their ritual is more alive than probably the people who lived in Israel, because the people in Israel, they didn't feel threatened, whereas these people are living in a different area. They clung together and cluster together and try to keep their tradition alive. So this young lady, she knew her religion probably more than anybody else, and she wanted to stay as a Jew. She didn't want to enter Islam. And then later on you have another person, you say, but so-and-so said she accepted Islam and became a Muslim, and some people say no. So her life is kind of like mysterious. But one thing is fact, that she was used by the Prophet of Allah, sexually that is. So I'm not a scholar, I'm not really a religious person, I wouldn't say I am, and I was not interested in Islam. And if I read this story and I can see clearly that there is something wrong in that story, why the average Muslim cannot see that? The thing is, it is very unfortunate. The Muslim leaders learned one thing from the founder, is people should not think. You drive them almost like animals, like cattle. And in the Quran there's something that it says, don't ask too many questions in a way, because if you ask, then you start to doubt. You start doubt, you will leave the religion. You leave the religion, you will be in hell, as if they are really enjoying heaven or in good position here. Look at Gaza. Look at the whole Muslim country. Well, we can't say really Indonesia is an Islamic country because this is cultural thing, cultural. And if they really stick to the Islamic stuff that it's real Islamic, they will go backward. But all the Muslim countries that really practice Islam in the Middle East region, they are all living in hell. And if a Muslim person question, you will be in hell. So all of them, unfortunately, they can be doctors, lawyers, engineer, all kind of fine occupations. However, when it comes to religion, one Muslim clerk, he said it very clearly. He said, your mind, you use it until you come to the mosque. Your mind is like a donkey. You ride this donkey until you get to the mosque. In the mosque, you tie the donkey outside, that's your mind. Leave it out. And you come to the mosque without a mind. You listen without a mind. Don't think. Only you think about the things outside after you leave the mosque. So in a way, come and get programmed and we'll take care of the rest. You just follow. Rihanna was a wonderful, beautiful Jewish woman. She was also raped. And many people at the time of ISIS, in the heyday of ISIS, they were saying, because they were ashamed, oh, these people don't represent Islam, whereas these were the true Muslims. Not only that, actually these people did not do as much as what happened 1400 years ago. They were more merciful. Thank you very much. We hope to hear from you.